Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvignanti ye bhurita janam. Thy words of immortality, filled with divine glories, are praised by sages. They are auspicious to hear. They destroy sin and the threefold miseries of life. Those, O Lord, who spread thy glories are the greatest benefactors in the world. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Let us, for a brief moment, quietly reflect on our inner consciousness. Om, peace, peace, peace. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are on page 88. Those who are following along with me will find in the middle of the center of the book here we have the Vedas speak of the homa bird. It lives high up in the sky and there it lays its eggs. As soon as the egg is laid, it begins to fall. But it is so high up that it continues to fall for many days. As it falls, it hatches. And the chick falls. As the chick falls, its eyes open, it grows wings. As soon as its eyes open, it realizes that it is falling and will be dashed to pieces on touching the earth. Then it at once shoots up towards the mother bird high up in the sky. Now this is a fascinating illustration. The word homa, the homa bird, the word homa of course is found all over in the Vedas. But the homa bird, we've tried to trace it, it's not there. But then many parts of the Vedas were lost. However, the homa bird, it is spelled H-U-M-A, is an extremely popular mythological bird in the Middle East. I remember when we were very young, I see a huge billboard of Iran Air. And we had a kind of, I thought first it was a bird that resembled an owl. Then later I found it was the homa bird. They depicted a homa bird. So it's there in ancient Persia, which became Iran, of course. The myth is there and it is all over the Middle East and even here in India it was there. So the Persian pronunciation was homia. So, but then it is written, spelt now H-U-M-A, pronounced H-O-M-A, homa bird. Now the fascinating thing is, we all read and then we are disputing this, whether the bird was actually real or mythological. Of course, it's mythology. You can understand this. Because it lays its egg so high in the sky and the egg keeps on falling and it hatches and then it opens its eyes and grows its wings. It's telling us something. And what? It's telling us about Swami Vivekananda, whom he had just mentioned a little earlier. We had taken it the last time. They say, Narendra and people of this type belong to the class of the ever free. We had seen the 4 classes of people that Sri Ramakrishna enumerated, and he was in the ever free, Nitya Siddha. They are never entangled in the world. When they grow a little older, they feel the awakening of inner consciousness and go directly to God. They come to the world only to teach others. This homa bird is symbolically representing Swami Vivekananda. And my interpretation is, well, the homa bird is Ramakrishna, and it lays its eggs and then is falling, and then its offspring, Vivekananda, has never touched the shoot substrate. But it also is a characteristic of these ever free souls. The idea is it never touches the earth. Its legs are never muddied in the world. So the homa bird is, according to the symbolic explanation of this bird, it's a person's spiritual state of mind. I think this is clear. We have one center, and that Swami wanted to build a monk's quarters, you know? And he had a grand plan. So he said, okay, we'll have a monk's quarters, but it should, from a distance, look like it's a bird kind of flying. The 2 wings of the building should resemble like a kind of the wings, you know, and the central part is kind of the beak, etc. I did it, but never really took on that likeness. But then, since, you know, the human mind is like that, okay, it's a homa bird, and then we superimpose the ideas on that. Okay, it's a... But it's a, as I said, it's a spiritual state of mind. The homa bird, that spiritual state of mind will never touch the world. The moment it opens its eyes, its spiritual consciousness is awakened. What am I doing here? It shoots up again, back. So this means, then it once shoots up towards the mother bird high in the sky. Now even mother bird is Ramakrishna, and we are also homa birds in a way. We want to shoot up back to the mother bird. And that comes through this book. Reading this book. And, you know, this is a kind of a class that we are, it's public, but you get the real essence of this when you're sitting alone and reading it slowly. See, the amount of wisdom in it is unbelievable. So, to continue here, at this point, Narendra left the room. Kedar, Prankrishna, M, and many others remained. Master, you see, Narendra excels in singing, playing on instruments, study, and everything. So he says, the other day he had a discussion with Kedar and tore his arguments to shreds. All laugh. So Narendra, that is the future Swami Vivekananda, excels in singing, and he really had a good voice. And his biographers and those who heard him and reminisced about him and wrote about him said it had a kind of a deep, like a Chinese gong, with deep quality. That's because he used to learn singing from an ustad. And the ustad's disciple or son and disciple, later on, much later on, he had spoken about what his father had mentioned about Swami Vivekananda's voice. His singing voice was excellent. And not only singing, his lecturing voice was also beautiful. And of course, he also comments on it indirectly. He's saying, you'll never hear a yogi with a croaking voice. The voice of a yogi is always sweet. So this was. So he was singing, playing an instrument. It was that pakwaj. He was really good. Esraj, pakwaj, all these, and these drums. It's very difficult. He could sing and play at the same time, which is difficult. Okay. Study and everything. Okay. He had tremendous willpower and, retentive power and everything. Okay. The other day he had a discussion with Kedar. Okay. So now Sri Ramakrishna is asking M, is there any book in English on reasoning? Because he found that Swami Vivekananda, Narendra, was using reasoning, logic, to demolish Kedar's arguments. Kedar was a kind of a traditionalist. So, and M says, yes, there's a book. It's called Logic there. And then he says, M was a little embarrassed. He said, so one part of the book deals with deduction from the general to the particular. For example, all men are mortal, scholars are men, therefore scholars are mortal. Okay, this is the deductive way of reasoning. Another part deals with the method of reasoning from the particular to the general. For example, this crow is black, that crow is black, the crows we see everywhere are black. Therefore, all crows are black. But there may be a fallacy. There might be a white crow also somewhere. That's why. Another illustration is, if there's rain, there has been a cloud, because rain comes from a cloud, etc., etc. Now, this deductive and inductive ways of reasoning was used extensively by Swami Vivekananda in his lectures. If you read carefully, you'll find he's going from the particulars to the general and from the general to the particulars. And he adds also another thing, saying there's another part, the explanation of the thing has to come from the very nature itself. He has used these three types of reasoning in most of his lectures. Amazing. Especially, he speaks about this in his practical Vedanta lectures. In, I think, second or third lecture, he speaks about how we go from the particulars to the general to the universal. And from the universal, it comes down to the general and then to the particulars, etc. From here, and so we can see how Swami Vivekananda used reasoning. Okay. The next page, third line, Sri Ramakrishna barely heard these words. While listening, he became absent-minded, so the conversation did not proceed far. It was not because he was not interested in. Sri Ramakrishna had difficulty in holding his mind down here. Like that homa bird, he wants to just run up to keep his mind down. So it appeared as if like he's absent-minded. And for us also, we know what's absent-mindedness is. We are here, but we are not here. That's it. When the meeting broke up, the devotees sauntered in the temple garden. M went in the direction of the Panchawati. Panchawati, Pancha is 5, Vati is trees, 5 trees. There's the banyan, the peepal, the ashoka, the neem or the fig, amlaki. So Sri Ramakrishna himself had planted those 5 trees, and it's considered very auspicious for spiritual practice, extremely auspicious. Out of them, just one is somehow now surviving after all these years. Rest have been they are decayed and they have fallen down. So there is a plan to recreate those, the Panchawati, the 5 trees. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. After a while, he returned to the master's room. There on the small north veranda, he witnessed an amazing sight. So this is the north veranda, which is like facing the Nahabad, the concert tower, and the Panchawati. That's it. Those who have been to Dakshineshwar temple see that. Sri Ramakrishna was standing still, surrounded by a few devotees, and Narendra was singing. M had never heard anyone except the master sing so sweetly. When he looked at Sri Ramakrishna, he was struck with wonder, but the master stood motionless, with eyes transfixed. He seems not even to breathe. A devotee told M that the master was in Samadhi. M had never seen or heard of such a thing. Silent with wonder, he thought, is it possible for a man to be so oblivious of the outer world in the consciousness of God? How deep his faith and devotion must be to bring about such a state. This is exactly what is required to get yourself into that state called Samadhi. To have such concentration on the inner consciousness on God, you become oblivious, you become dead to the outer world. And you need to have very deep faith and devotion to bring about this. So all through in this book, and you'll find he gets into that state while somebody is singing, or maybe he got into a mood, he's got into a spiritual mood or a conversation, he gets into that. As if it is so easily accessible to him. Of course, for him. Yeah. So this particular Samadhi that Sri Ramakrishna is experiencing, these are called the bhava Samadhi or the Chetana Samadhi. We'll see. These are due to intense love for God, for the deity, where the person and the deity becomes one. But there is a slight kind of difference. The difference is like a stick which is floating on water. Apparently it appears to divide the water into two, but not in reality. So in this state, that person becomes one with that object of meditation. Singing. Let's talk about a little singing. Singing in songs and music has always been used in religion. Of course, everywhere. Of course. You want to celebrate and you will have sing. But singing, music itself is very ancient. It's a very ancient structures in the neurological systems. No, you don't need to teach people the beat. It's natural. There are birds affected by, plants are affected by, everything is affected by music. It seems to be the structure, deeper structure of it. So especially religious songs and religious music, you find that these were given by great mystics and sages and saints. The words, the composition. And they become, as it were, a map of consciousness. So people can use this as a ladder or a rope, whatever, and climb up those pathways into that inner realm of consciousness. So these have been experienced. The deity has been experienced through this kind of medium, and this becomes a map of consciousness. All religious songs, look, when we sing the Vespers hymns, we sing it sometimes half-heartedly without. Swami Vivekananda himself wrote these lyrics and the music and gave the music, etc. So you can see that it is now a map. If you want to get into quick Samadhi, meditate on the Vespers hymn, Khandana Bhavandan, etc. and really immerse yourself. You see, you will go straight to Ramakrishna. That's the idea. That's why music is always considered sacred. So much for music. Because in the classical Indian music styles, they heard the sounds of the world outside, external world, early morning or late morning or midnight or afternoon or evening. It sounds differently, and they caught those notes, and then they made it into what is called ragas and raginis. So it is something that is experienced in the world, music. So Narendra was singing, and what we are singing? Meditate, O my mind, on the Lord Hari, the stainless one, pure spirit through and through. How peerless is the light in him that shines. How soul bewitching is his wondrous form. How dear is he to all his devotees. Even more beauteous in fresh, blossoming love that shames the splendor of a million moons. Like lightning gleams the glory of his form, raising erect the hair for very joy. Chintaya mama manasa hari chidghana niranjana. Chintaya mama manasa hari chidghana niranjana. Ki bhavanupama bhati mohana murati bhakata hridaya nandana. So this is a song. Imagine trying to sing like Swami Vivekananda. Oh my God. But it's a very, very sublime song. Beautiful. It's a very beautiful. It's translated as meditate, chintaya. Mama manasa, oh my mind. He's saying what? On Hari. On the Lord Hari. Hari is the name of Vishnu. Chidghana Niranjana, the stainless one, pure spirit, true and true. To mention this, the translation of these songs has been unique. Never will these kind of songs be ever be translated in such a way. Amazing. Of course, Swami Nikhilananda had help also. And wonderful. So that, in fact, enhances the beauty of this book. So the master shuddered while the last line was sung. His hair stood on end, and tears of joy streamed down his cheeks. Now and then his lips parted in a smile. Was he seeing the peerless beauty of God that shames the splendor of a million moons? Was this the vision of God, the essence of spirit? How much austerity and discipline, how much faith and devotion must be necessary for such a vision? He did not understand. This is the first time he's seeing it. Somebody going out in some kind of in a thing called Samadhi. But he understood the intensity of this mood, and there must be something there. The person is not looking outside, but a person is completely absorbed inside. And he's wondering, how is it seeing the beauty of God that shames the, you can say, the splendor of a million moons, the vision of God. It is the vision of God. It is something that shames the splendor of a million moons. It is the most beautiful. Your mind is simply drawn to it and held there. And Sri Ramakrishna, when that mood is slightly kind of, the intensity is slightly becoming less, he shuddered and his hair stood on ends and tears of joy streamed down his cheek. These are something called the 8 satvika bhavas. In the scriptures of bhakti, 3 are mentioned here. There are these horripilations and the, you can say, shuddering and the tears, etc. So these are satvika, that is the expressions of extreme sattva guna. And yes, without sattva guna, it's just impossible for a person to get immersed so much. So it is sattva guna that takes you to the very edge. And the body is extremely sattvic. That's why you can understand Sri Ramakrishna's body was extremely sattvic. Sattva does not obstruct you at all. What obstructs you is rajas and tamas. The characteristic of sattva is knowledge, happiness, etc. So people want happiness? Make your body sattvic. How do you have to start? Eat sattvic food. Start from there. So, because people nowadays go into Samadhi and come out of Samadhi, and but then what are the indications that it was a kind of a deep state? That state comes and kind of affects, like wind blowing across the city, and the trees, etc., you can shake, and the leaves can quiver, and etc., etc. So that's what actually happened. When that huge mood of spiritual emotions rush through the mind, the body also feels that rush of spiritual emotions. So that's why you have these sattvika bhavas. This is the best way to check whether this guy has got some real, genuine samadhi or no. Bhava samadhi. The song went on. Worship his feet in the lotus of your heart, there, here, with mind serene and eyes made radiant with heavenly love. Behold that matchless sight. This is exactly what Sri Ramakrishna was experiencing within. As I said, a song, these kind of songs, mystic songs, they are maps of consciousness. They are speaking about exactly what's happening within. And we try to tune our instruments and this and we should tune our mind, and then you can have this kind of, you can go along with the music, with the lyrics, and go deep inside. Swami Shivananda's father, so he used to go to Dakshineshwar, and he used to hire a singer, professional singer, who used to sit down behind him and sing songs on Kali and the 6 centers of mystic, you can say, consciousness within. And he used to weep, weep, weep while listening to the songs and watching the deity. When I was young, I used to wonder, what is Now I understand. Oh my God, this is wonderful. So it helps you to meditate. Music helps one to meditate deeply. So you can use music to meditate. Again, that bewitching smile. As was mentioned, Sri Ramakrishna's smile was the most beautiful smile because he got it from Sita. After his vision of Sita, Sita entered into him. And he's saying, she bequeathed her smile to Sri Ramakrishna. So when you see Sri Ramakrishna smiling here, it is Sita's smile. It's a bewitching smile. The body motionless as before, the eyes half shut as if beholding a strange inner vision. This is what. So the mind, as Sri Ramakrishna will later explain, the mind goes from, as they say, ardhabhaya avastha, that is the semi, you can say, state of inner consciousness, then it goes out slightly. He's saying in that state you can sing and dance. Saying Chaitanya also used to sing and dance in that. But when it comes little inside, midway, then you can't sing and you can dance. You're still. And when you go down deeper inside, antaravastha, you cannot do anything at all. You have become so still, you become, as I say, you plunge inside. So Sri Ramakrishna was in this state, transitioning from one to another. So this is what's happening. And then the song drew to a close. Narendra sang the last lines. Caught in the spell of his love's ecstasy, immerse yourself forevermore, O mind, in him who is pure knowledge and pure bliss. The sight of Samadhi and the divine bliss he had witnessed left an indelible impression on M's mind. He returned home deeply moved. When a person has experienced Samadhi and you are around, the whole air becomes electric. It's not only the whole air in the whole world becomes electric. You must not understand. So what happens? It raises a spiritual wave. It is not for Sri Ramakrishna, oh, he was getting into Samadhi and this and that. Yeah, we know. In Sri Ramakrishna's cases of Samadhi, he was raising spiritual waves that will inundate the world. So his Samadhis are there or are helping us now in trying, when we try to think about God. So when we want to concentrate, we want to pray, we want to do this, his Samadhis are, because they had raised these waves. An unending series of waves and waves and waves. And they run for centuries and centuries. Not only centuries, yeah, for many centuries. Millennia. Millennia. So you must catch those waves. If you want Ramakrishna, catch those waves. And he has. So that person becomes, as it were, in Swami Vivekananda says, when an avatar comes, he raises a spiritual wave to combat the other material waves. It's always like, so this waves, how does he, this, repeatedly getting into Samadhi, getting into Samadhi. So his going into Samadhi experience, not for himself, but for us. Because the Bhagavad Gita says, if you can understand my divine birth and my divine works correctly, you will not be reborn. Janma karma chame divyam. So if you know it correctly, you will not be reborn. So Sri Ram and Holy Mother says, did he come and dance and to eat rasgullas and go? No, he did all these things for us. So what happened there is still drawing people, will draw people for thousands and thousands of years towards Sri Ramakrishna, towards God. That is something that we forget. And we read, the very act of reading itself is because of those spiritual waves that he had unleashed in the spiritual world. And then we can read. And then he could hear within himself the echo of those soul intoxicating lines. Immerse yourself forevermore, O mind, in him who is pure knowledge and pure bliss. So immerse your mind. So the mind's separate identity, I, so and so, is completely immersed in Hari, God. That separate existence does not remain. But there, as I say, there's a kind of a small kind of stick on the waters that appears that as to divide. So it is a complete mergence of the body undergoes these changes, satvika changes. And also the body has become still because its entire vital forces are drawn by the mind and put into that object of meditation. The body is in more or less a highly like suspended animation. Everything is stilled because like M says that his breathing has stopped. So the breathing had stopped. So there it is. You cannot have somebody breathing and all the life process is going on and saying, my mind is immersed in Hari. No, that won't do. It has to be total. I mean, total in the sense complete. So he was here. He was, as we say, when a beautiful tune or something we hear or some music, it runs through the mind. So this was M's visit to the Master. And as I said, this was his third visit, and it was wonderful. We stop here for questions. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Why do we see Sri Ramakrishna go into Samadhi so much more than Holy Mother? Wonderful question. There is a Swami Sridharananda, who is now in Sydney, Australia. When he was very young, he was serving one of Holy Mother's disciples, Shantanandaji. So he asked him, have you seen Holy Mother go into Samadhi? That Swami kept quiet. He was in his own mood. So the questioner understood, because these people are in a different kind of spiritual mood, and sometimes like the absent-minded, like, no. Second time he asked, have you seen Holy Mother in Samadhi? Again he was ignored. Third time loudly saying, Maharaj, have you seen Holy Mother in Samadhi? And the Swami got it right. You rascal? I think he said rascal or something like that. Holy Mother gives Samadhi. Why should she be in Samadhi? And then he says, Holy Mother is greater than Samadhi. So this is the same answer I can give you. Sri Ramakrishna also says she gives Samadhi, don't worry. So Samadhi is a state of mind, and it is given by the Divine Mother, and Holy Mother is there. So long time back, I used to read a lot and some of the old saints. So once Swami, he was a great scholar, very great scholar. He lived in Vrindavan. Akhandananda Saraswati. So, and he used to, I think weekly discourses he used to give, and huge crowd used to come. In India, of course, you give a discourse and you get a few thousands. So he's saying, in one of his discourses, he's saying, last night I dreamt that another monk had come and he was beating me with a stick. So at first I objected. Swami, why are you beating me? He kept on beating me. He never listened to me. Kept on beating me. I'm going to put you into Samadhi. So that's why I'm beating you. So he kept on beating him. So Swami is saying, Akhandananda, why do you want to put me into Samadhi? Samadhi is in me. Why should I go into Samadhi? And that was, I remember, that was a revelation. Oh, yes. So they are like the ocean of consciousness. Holy Mother Sri Ramakrishna and all these things. So that is why you see Sri Ramakrishna going often in Samadhi. And a lot of people used to criticize Holy Mother also. Oh, even though those days. Oh, you see Sri Ramakrishna getting in Samadhi. We don't see anybody like this. But Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. Like when an elephant enters into a small pool, there's a huge splashing of water, huge commotion. But when it enters into a huge lake, nothing happens. The water is undisturbed. Swami Vivekananda also was like that. So even a huge spiritual emotion in Holy Mother's, you can say, mind, it hardly made any ripple. But it's not that she wasn't she never experienced. She used to experience Samadhi. Okay, so I hope this is enough explain enough. Okay, so you have any question here? Okay. So very interesting. So as we proceed, we will speak about these samadhis. So because it's a very vast subject and people have a lot of misconceptions about it, we will clarify it because there are various types, various kinds. Like one monk had gone to Sri Ramakrishna saying, oh, I see you have all the five kinds of samadhi in you. Just looking at Sri Ramakrishna, you could see that. So it is a science by itself. It's a vast subject. In fact, when Sri Ramakrishna's biography was being written by Swami Nikhilananda, saying you can never understand Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play if you don't understand the state of Samadhi. So when he started writing the divine play of Sri Ramakrishna, he started off with bhava, samadhi and darshana. This is the first thing he wanted to clarify. What exactly is this? And so then we can understand Sri Ramakrishna. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand Sri Ramakrishna correctly. Of course, he reveals himself to us inside. So this is an extremely important, you can say, aspect in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda tradition. To understand, at least intellectually you can understand. And then you can understand Sri Ramakrishna. Otherwise, it's not possible. Sri Ramakrishna's mind never came down from here. The most, Swami Nikhilananda says, it came up to here. It was never down. So here, the world looks completely different. Completely. In the most of the time it was here. So the world looks completely different. And then, after everything was, the book was written, and Swami Nikhilananda was asked, wrote this, saying, nothing that I have written has not been experienced by me. That is the bhava, samadhi and darshana. So he wrote it because he confirmed. Otherwise you cannot write on bhava and samadhi and darshana without experiencing it. We'll make a hodgepodge of it. We'll take from here, take there, and make a thing. Are you saying, you tell, why do you think we came to Ramakrishna and we are cutting grass? So, today we had lawn mowing day, grass cutting. So you think we can? Nothing that I've written is beyond the pale of my experiences. So, yeah. So it is within the reach of also everyone. To understand Sri Ramakrishna is to understand Samadhi, etc., etc. And to understand Samadhi, etc., is to understand Ramakrishna. So are ordinary people eligible for this? Yes, why not? What makes you think you're ordinary? If you have come to Ramakrishna, there's something special inside you. Okay. We stop here for today. And Friday, the householder disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, we will have Manmohan Mitra. This is another wonderful life. And on Saturday, we have the retreat at Arlington Tapovan Center from 1 to 5. The retreat will be on yoga and meditation, guided meditation, etc., flower offering. Those who can make it, come over. Sunday, we have Atma Deepo Bhava, that is, be a light unto yourself. These are the Buddha's final words. So we'll discuss that subject, to be a light unto oneself. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.